Samyak.
Hello.
Are we sure? Are we waiting for people to join us? What time should we start?
No, sir. We can start now, sir. We have already. Please, sir.
Let's start at 9:05. Let's start at 9:05. Okay. Yeah, because people may keep joining and then it is sort of disturbing. Shall we start, Samyak?
Yes, sir. Please start.
Okay. So, welcome to this session on Fulbright Doctoral Fellowship. I was asked by Anup sir to moderate this session. My name is Vishal Thakre and I am currently a PhD scholar at University of Austin, Texas. Hello?
Yes.
Shall I continue? Okay. Yeah, so I am a doctoral scholar here at University of Texas, Austin, in the Department of Communication Studies. And I am going to introduce Raju today, who is a friend of mine and also a colleague in academics for a long time. So, yeah, I know Raju from Tata Institute days where he was doing his MA in Development Studies. He's from Mumbai, Shivajinagar, and yeah, he did development studies in Mumbai Tata Institute, and later on he briefly joined IIT Chennai, I guess, and then shifted to IIT Bombay, the Department of Sociology. Currently, he is working on especially religiosity among North Indian Dalits in Mumbai, and he is trying to find answer to the question where he raised how Dalits, or let's say people pushed at margins, navigate cities, spatial and cultural politics in a city like Mumbai. So he's especially particularly investigating, trying to understand Valmiki community in Shivajinagar and like Mumbai's pocket. Yeah, and now currently he is on a Fulbright doctoral research fellowship at university at his host institution is University of California, Santa Cruz. Right, Raju?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he is also a doctoral scholar at in the, IIT Bombay in the Department of Sociology. Yeah, so yeah, we met here at Columbia University also because I think it's because of the Fulbright Fellowship we got a chance to catch up in Columbia University. That was really a nice moment when we all got together and clicked a nice picture in front of Baba Sahib statue. Yeah, that's it. Now I pass it on to Raju, and I hope you enjoyed the session.
Uh, Thank you, Vishal. And a very thanks to Nalanda Academy for giving me this opportunity. I'm very happy that I'll be able to share my experience of getting this fellowship and what I am experiencing. So I'm going to talk about a doctoral fellowship called the Fulbright-Nehru Doctoral Research Fellowship. And among the various exchange programs that Indian PhD students can uh, take part into, these are the three major exchange programs where students usually apply for. The first one is Commonwealth Split Site Scholarship, and this allows Indian students to spend up to 12 months at a UK university. Then we have DART Fellowship. It's for Germany for about 6 months, and then we have a Fulbright Fellowship that allows you to be in the US up to 9 months. So it is totally upon the scholar to decide as to which one of these to apply for, or you can apply for multiple, of course. But for instance, in my research field in which I'm working on, I have people who are more into the US who are working in the research area, which is close to my research. So I thought of applying for the Fulbright Fellowship. Similarly, if someone has more research arenas in Germany, he can, of course, go for the DART Fellowship. So it's upon uh, based on your research interest and where does the people are located into which part of that country. So it's upon that. So just to begin, the first thing is who is eligible for this program. So any Indian student who is registered for a PhD program in any Indian universities, whether private or public. So one thing to clarify now that this is not a degree program. This is just an exchange program in a sense that you will just spend an amount of time in a US university. So you won't get a degree as such. You will just get a certificate of exchange. And the time period which you can stay in any of the university in the US ranges from 6 months to 9 months. So the minimum time is 6 months and the maximum you can stay here is for 9 months. The applications generally comes in the February and until July of that year, which means there is a huge, there's a very big window. You almost have 5 to 6 months to apply for this fellowship. If you go to the website of Fulbright-Nehru, it says that applicants who are in the early stages of their PhD are eligible to apply for this, and those who are in their advanced stages are not that preferred. The applicants that I know from the past who are from humanities and social sciences background, who have applied for this particular fellowship, have applied for 3 major reasons. Of course, there can be other reasons also, but these 3 are the major reasons. The first one is that those who want to do field work in the US, for instance, they have some research questions, some research which has to do with some part of fieldwork in the US. So that's the first kind of applicants who apply for this fellowship. Second are those who need some access to resources in the US, which they are not able to get in the India. For instance, some archival or some access to some libraries or some rare materials or manuscripts which are not available in India or cannot be in India. And the third and the most common that I have seen is those who have already done their fieldwork in India and are planning to write their dissertation. So I fall into this third category, that I have already done my fieldwork in India before applying. I was in between of my fieldwork when I was applying for it. So I have chosen this fellowship so that I can come to the US and write my dissertation. And of course, there are people here who have similar research interest as mine. So I thought of getting a more intellectual environment here. So that's the reason why I applied. So there are a number of documents that this fellowship will ask for once you wish to apply. So as usual, you will need reference letter, you'll need a CV and a writing sample, letter of invitation from host US university, personal statement, and research objective. So these are the documents which you'll need to give to them. So on its website, it is written that the three reference letter that you will give, one should be from your PhD advisor, and that in the letter it should be clearly written that why about your research work and the usefulness of this fellowship particularly. So what I did is that I took one from my PhD advisors and two from my PhD panel members. So I avoided taking reference letter from faculty who are not very much aware of what research I'm doing, or so because your panel member knows you, say from 3 years or 4 years, so they have much better understanding of what you are working on and why do you need this fellowship. So that was the reason why I chose panel members, the other two as my panel members for this. So I mailed them in advance a month. So it's, I mean, usually faculties are under so much of work pressure. So it is always good. It's a good practice to give ample amount of window to the faculties. So I wrote them a month in advance, asking them if they could recommend. And once they said yes, so what I did is that I sent them my CV and research outline. In research outline, it was basically a 2-page where I have written what my work is broadly, what is the progress of my work, and why I think this fellowship is needed for my research. So usually people have many PhD candidates to guide, and then they have administrative work, and also it's always better that you just don't tell them to write a recommendation letter. Instead, you give them some documents like your CV also and about a research outline, so that they will get an idea as to what you're working on. So yes, sending both these documents helps them to write a more detailed recommendation outlining your research progress and contributions. The other document that the fellowships want is CV. And on the website, it is written that it should describe academic credentials and demonstrate a record of scholarly achievements. What I did before, so it's not that I just thought of applying for this. There was a 1-year gap before which I thought of applying for this. So when they tell about academic credential and record of scholarly achievement, I think what they're expecting is that you should tell them more about what you have done apart from working on your dissertation. So that broadly means like the workshops and presentations that you have attended or the publications that you have done. So in CV, I mentioned that I had already attended 2 international conferences, and one of my paper was accepted for publication in a journal. and I already had 2 published book reviews and a few public pieces of writings. So this is not to say that if you have not done this presentations and publication, the chances are not that high, but just to make sure that if you have done, I'm sure it gives edge to you over other applicants. And again, if you make a year in advance or a year and a half in advance, so it actually writing a book review, for instance, doesn't take much time. If you approach a journal with your writing, it takes like around 4 months, something like that. For article, of course, it takes time, but even if the article is accepted, you can at least write that it is accepted for publication. So a year planning in advance is, of course, a best thing to do. Yeah. The third thing that they want, apart from recommendation letter and CV, is the writing sample. So, and this writing sample should not exceed more than 20 pages is what they have written on their website. So I did also same. And they have told that this writing sample can be either a published piece of work or the paper you had presented, or you can also submit the extracts from your MA or MPhil thesis. So as I've mentioned, I already had one research article which was accepted. So I just sent that article, but again, that was around 30 pages. So I have to reduce the size to 20 pages. In case that if we do not have a publication or even a presentation paper that is presented in conference or workshop, you can of course easily go for your MA or MPhil thesis and make it, reduce it into 20 pages, like what your MA thesis was all about, or what your MPhil thesis was all about. But again, this is a huge task of converting almost 100 pages into 20 pages. So it takes a amount of labor. So it's always good to submit any paper which you had presented in your university or anywhere else. The fourth thing that they want is a letter of invitation from host US institutions. So all the fellowships, whether it's Commonwealth, whether it's DART fellowship for Germany, or whether it's Fulbright fellowship, they usually ask for invitation letter from that particular university. So this invitation letter basically means that there is some there is a faculty in that country. In my case, it was US. So it is a faculty in US who would like to host you and has shown interest in your research. So that faculty, he or she or they, has to give you an invitation letter on the letterhead of that university. So we have to be that. And so in my case, what happened is that in around 2018 or 19, we had in IIT Bombay, we have a group called Democratizing Students Collective. So on part of that, we had in one of our programs, we have called one US faculty who was visiting India for a field work. So he gave a talk, and then we all went out for dinner, and then we all were discussing with him about our work, and then I also discussed about my work. And that particular faculty is very much closely working on the research theme on which I'm working on. It is just, the difference is that he's working in North India and I'm working on the West India, a city in West India. So he was very much interested in my work, and then that's how we got to know each other. And then over a period of a year and a half, we exchanged emails, and even when I wrote a chapter for my dissertation, I just sent him for comments. He gave a detailed comments and all. So that's how our friendship grew, and that's how we came to know about each other. And when I decided to apply for this fellowship finally, and then I thought of writing to that particular faculty for a host letter. And I just wrote an email to him, and he just quickly gave me one. So it becomes, otherwise what happens is that we have to randomly write people, about 10 people, 15 people, faculties asking for recommendation letters. Sometimes some will be busy and they won't reply, and some of them will you know will not be very much interested in the research area in which you are working on, because they have some different research areas. So it's always good to have people around you who knows like what you're working on, not only in India but in abroad. It's also a larger thing of uh, uh, networking. It's also a thing of sharing your work, taking comments from people. So in that part, in that spirit, I was able to connect with the professor, and it helped me a lot. So that can be done once when you are in writing stages and all. You can just see the faculties who are there in abroad working, and you can connect with them so that they know you. And if and at all you decide to apply for the fellowship, you can of course approach them first and see if they are ready to host you. So letter of invitation, again, they ask for, so you can either submit one letter of invitation, or I have seen people submitting 2 to 3 letter of invitations also. While applying for this program, if you do not have a letter of invitation, that's well and fine. It's not necessary, it's not very compulsory that you have to give the letter of invitation. Even after you submit your application, before it, there is a time, like you have submitted your application will be shortlisted, and then there will be interview. So there is a time of around 3-4 months. Even then, if you are able to get some, if you get able to get invitation from a host, that will be fine. I have also seen applicants who have not got letter of invitation even in interviews, but that does not mean that they were not selected. People have been selected even after not getting a letter of invitation. So that is not a very big deal, but it's always good to have this invitation letter with you. And the last 2 documents that you have to submit while you apply for this fellowship, and these 2 documents are the most crucial document that actually decide whether you would be able to get the fellowship or not. And the first one is called personal statement, and the second one is study or research objective. So you can see on the screen that the words that I have taken here, that narrative statement, how would be achieve your current goals, information about experience, correct plan. So this is all mentioned on their website. So I have taken from there. So both these required documents are again very crucial one. It helps to know the other person, the interviewer or the commission, the Fulbright commission, as to who you are. The personal statement is basically about who you are, and the second one, the study and research objective, is about what you are researching and why. So in that sense, this second document is in a way an extension or a continuation of the first. So we have to see this document as a single piece of work that we will be doing. So I prepared these 2 documents, keeping that in mind, that the first one will flow and it will come to the second one, so that there should be a continuity. Broadly, if you see research, then there are multiple there are reasons why people do research: out of personal curiosity, out of social some observation, or maybe of a reading. So for me, it was more about the social location, and also the questions that intrigued me ever since. So this is how I went to this. Yeah. So these are the broader questions that I kept in mind while writing the personal statement. So these questions guided me. How did I wrote the personal statement? And we have to make sure that it does not exceed 2 pages. So I wrote it in 1.5 pages, keeping all these questions in mind. To begin with, like, who are you? what made you pursue the PhD, life experiences question that intrigued you. Did you ever, did you know social surrounding you made ask question, and what larger contribution could you make from your life journey? What plans do you have, and how are your future plans shaped by your past life or questions that you have ever faced? So these are the guiding questions that I had in mind while writing personal statement. And below where I've written point B, so these are the themes around which I wrote personal statement, keeping in mind the A1, like the one which is about them. So in that sense, I moved from personal to the universal using these themes, you know, the family history, that how family have migrated to Mumbai, and what did city life offered to them when they came to city and offered to me also, and about how anti-caste consciousness grew because of certain life experiences and the sociality that offers you, and the city life, of course. So these first these all sets of questions, and I wrote it around these particular themes: family history, migration, city life, and anti-caste consciousness. So in that word, what C. Wright Mills calls sociological imagination, where personal has been, you take a personal to build a larger perspective. So I think these questions are very it helped me a lot. It gave me a kind of sketch, uh, a table where I just have to then write it accordingly. So these were the questions which I kept in mind. Yeah. And then followed was the second statement called the research objective statement. Again, this same document also should not, research objective statement also should not exceed more than 2 pages. So that's the thing. When we write a personal statement, or even what your research is about, it becomes very difficult to narrow it down to 5 or 6 paragraphs or write it in 2 pages. So that's, we have to see it. So I wrote 2 pages, and in total I had 6 paragraphs. And the 6 points here tells about what those 6 paragraphs were. Every paragraph had this thing. For instance, the first paragraph, I made sure that it is a continuation from personal statement, like what I have told. That okay, so I for instance, I'll just use one example to tell. My research focus on how Dalit community, most of them had a non-dominant religious background, non-dominant religious history. How do they navigate a city like Bombay, which has been highly shaped by a certain political forces, and there were many instances which made city divide on social and spatial plane. For instance, in early 90s, the Bombay riot happened, and then other thing. So it's all about how those who do not subscribe to dominant religious identity, or have for others have non-ambiguous religious identity, how do they navigate city? So that was a larger question. So I fitted that with my own community history and family history and personal history, and then I moved to back, and that I gave as my background of research, what my research background is. So that was basically my research background, as to deriving from personal and then seeing it a broader sense as to, so the question that emerged for me from my own history is that how do those Dalits who live in Bombay have are navigating cities, spatial and social and cultural politics, of course. So the first paragraph was about this, and the second paragraph was, what are my research questions? So I made around 3 or 4 research questions, like how do people navigate city, and what are the counter forces, and So three and four research questions were there broadly. The third paragraph was about like what is the current state of research on those questions. So it's in general, like we know that whenever we write a research objective or a statement, we have to give literature review. So it was not literature review as such, because we had to write it in 4 or 5 lines only. So but make sure that you take certain scholars who are very much close to the research area on which you are working on. So just to make give an idea to the reader that that you are known to the research that is happening in your field, and you are up to date with the research happening in the field, so that there doesn't look a disconnect between what is happening and what you have been doing. Then the fourth paragraph was about the methodologies that I have adopted. So for my research, what I'm doing is that I have used mixed methods approach, which means I did survey in the first phase and then ethnography followed by this one. The fifth one was what contribution my research is making. So it is very important to tell what will be your intellect, what will be the output of your research, what what would be the argument that you'd be making. And so we have to make sure that we write that. And this can be, contribution, we have to say in particular theme. For instance, we can say urban studies, or we can say Dalit studies, or anti-caste studies, or you can say city life, and then a particular set of questions, that these were the questions which were not addressed, or these were the questions that I think will be answered or explored through my research. And of course, what scholarly debate that you will contribute to, either you will take forward, or you will I will not say contradict, but a different finding. So we have to make sure these things are fit into your research objective statement. And then the last paragraph was about the current progress and my future plans. So they just don't want to know that what research you are doing, but as I mentioned in the first slide itself, that they want someone who is not in an advanced stage of his or her or this PhD. So so I just wrote that I'm in currently ending toward my fieldwork. So maybe in 5 months or 4 months, I'll be ending my fieldwork and I'll start writing my chapters for dissertation. And to write those chapters that I need to apply for this fellowship, because there are a few faculties in the US who are working very closely to what I am also working on, and they'd be interested in knowing my work. And I think my work will improve much if I'll be able to present my work in those universities. So it's about current progress and future plans also. So broadly, I mentioned that I wish to use my 6 months of period to write my chapters. So broadly, I told them that, okay, I want to write 3 or 4 field chapters. And then future plan would be like to just go back to your home country and then apply for postdocs or faculty positions. So one thing to keep in mind is that Fulbright, if you get selected, you'll be given J1 visa. So J1 visa means that you again have to sign a two years home requirement. That means once you go back from here, you have to be in your own country for 2 years. You cannot come to US again for 2 years on the same J1 visa for students. So just to make this point. And once you are selected, then there will be they'll ask you to come for interview. What I have heard, I'm not sure whether it's absolutely correct, but what I've heard is that generally the ratio called for interview is like 1:3. So this is what it is. And you will be asked to go to Delhi to give an interview. But when I applied, it was kind of the COVID period, it was ending. So they did not ask us to come to Delhi. So we had interview on Zoom. So usually they have 5 to 7 faculties sitting in interviews. So one will be specifically who is from your particular research area, one will be your domain area, and then there will be others who will not be from your research area or from your domain. He might be a faculty from, say, public policy background or an engineering background. He will also be sitting. So you have to make sure that you give much clarity on research statement and personal statement, so that they'll know what your research is about. So we should have that art of telling our research in a way that the person who is not very well uh, established in your own field should also know that what your research is and why your research is important and what questions you want to explore. So of course, 5-6 people were there in interview, and usually they will ask this same question, that how will the Fulbright Fellowship help you in advancing your research, and why visit to the US is crucial for your research work. So you just have to make sure that you are prepared for these questions. For instance, I'm working with the Valmikis, one of the Dalit community from north of India. So I'm seeing how Valmikis of Uttar Pradesh, who are settled in Bombay, how they are shaping cities' sociality. So there have been research on the community, but then the most latest work came from one of the US professor who now teaches here. So I told them, and he was the same professor with whom I got in touch with before applying for the fellowship. So I just informed them in an interview that, okay, so there are these sets of professors who are working on my research theme, and there is one who is specifically very close to what I'm working on, and he's also very interested in hosting me. So his discussions with him, and comments from him, and meeting him, and then presenting my work in universities, for instance, in religion departments or urban studies department in the US, is very important for my work, to get comments on what my work is taking shape. So that was my the idea that why I want to apply for this. And then there was also a theoretical questions. For instance, if I'm working on religion, then they ask me, like, what is a broad framework that you're using for your research? So I was not very much prepared for this, so it came in sudden. But again, I use various theorists who have worked on the idea of religion. So I told them that, okay, so I'm broadly using, I know the work of Emily Durkheim, and I'm trying to see how I can use it. So once your interview is done, and if you're selected, so there are two things. One is that either you'll be selected or you'll be in wait list. But again, the chances of getting into final, if you're in waitlist, is pretty high. It's not that if you're in waitlist you won't get it. It's very high. So once you get selected, they'll ask you to give TOEFL exam. So it's compulsory that you have to give TOEFL exam, and it's basically to test your English language. So TOEFL, I'm sure Nalanda Academy have already taken these sessions on TOEFL. So TOEFL has 3 to 4 sections testing your English language. For instance, listening, speaking, writing, communicating. So there are 4 sections. And these are you have to go to some particular center and you have to apply. So the total the marks was around. So TOEFL is for 120 marks, and I got around 90 or 91, something 89 or 90. So that's okay. So, but this happens only when you get selected for the program, applications and interview, and then they will ask you to apply for the TOEFL exam. One more thing, if you think that, if the commission thinks that the grades that you have got in TOEFL is not very high, or that if they think that you need an additional training, so they will ask you to come to US 1 month in advance, and then they will give you English training for a whole month. For instance, if if you're coming to California, so then they will ask you to come to Washington and Oregon. Then you have to live with. They'll give you one host family, US host family, so that you can also get enmeshed in US culture. And then you will have to attend a 1 month pre-academic training program before starting your Fulbright fellowship. So that's one thing. So this is a broad thing that. So I was in the batch 2022-23, and the number of applications which were received was around 450, and out of which 35 were selected. Sorry. 35 candidates were selected, which means a success rate of 8%. So it is competitive, but again, if you decide in advance, a year in advance, year and a half in advance, that you want this publication or you want this presentation, and then you should know some faculties, and then that's how you should develop. Then if you work strategically, then I think it's not very difficult to get into. So out of those 35 selected, 60% went to public universities here. So, and then around 40% into humanities, social sciences. How does this fellowship help? Well, the most important thing, apart from that it will give you a space and a time to write your chapter, is that it will help you to connect with PhD students in the US and the faculties who are working in your research area. So from that, in a networking sense, it's very important. And then when you meet these candidates and when you meet these faculties, they'll ask you, and then when you present your work, for instance, I attended two or three places I presented my work. So it helps, you just come here, you present your work, and then get inputs from there, incorporate those comments, and make your chapter more richer. So in that sense, it is very helpful, this application, this fellowship. And the last one is about the possibility of postdoc options. So once you come here, I mean, it becomes easy to get to know, like, what are the postdocs possibilities that you can explore. So because you meet people, you meet faculty, and then they will tell you, okay, so my university has this postdoc and you can apply for this. So you can just make a list of those, and then when you go back and when you submit your thesis in India, then you can again apply for these postdocs. So apart from giving you space, it allows you to make networking and get inputs on your research, and also it opens up the wider domain of the wider things of possibility of postdoc options. So these are the things. So I'll just end it here, and I'll take questions if anybody has one. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much for such an insightful and informative presentation, Raju. So if people have questions, we can take that. So just raise your hand or unmute yourself and ask the question. You can also like text or type a text if you want to. Is it possible that people can unmute themselves, Samyak?
Yes, sir, we can.
Because just check, because if they are not unable to unmute themselves, they won't be able to ask the question.
Okay, sir, I have unmuted all the participants. Now they can ask the question directly.
Yeah, so yeah, please feel free to ask the questions. We have our own person to answer. So any stupid questions are not stupid, by the way. Any basics questions are fine, welcome also.
So there's one question that I can see in the chat. I think it's by Sneha. It says that we have a classes here for IELTS. Does the US ask for TOEFL only, not IELTS? Yes. When I applied, they asked for TOEFL, not IELTS. So, but again, it's not difficult. It's very simple. I prepared for. Uh, I had other presentations for my PhD, so I prepared only for 4 days, and but I was able to get 90 out of 120. So it's not at all difficult. You just know that how this exam work and what is the the pattern of this exam and what this exam demands. So it's there is nothing to worry about that they are asking for TOEFL, nothing else. You can just prepare for a week also and then give exam. It's not a big deal. It's important to get into the program first. That's more important. And as I said, if you do not score much higher in TOEFL exam, that doesn't mean that you will be disqualified or something like that. But uh, you will be taken. You will be given pre-advanced academic training, so that will help you to go to get English. Yeah.
I think the Kuldeep wants to ask the question, but he is not able to unmute himself. So.
Okay. Yeah, I can see his question. Kuldeep, yeah. Can we approach to associate professor also? Yes, of course. I mean, you just want a host faculty. It can be assistant or associate or professor. So that hierarchy doesn't matter. What matters is that there should be someone who wants to host you. So, for instance, the person who initially gave me a letter was assistant professor, and then I got it from other also who were associate professor, and there were other also who were professor. So that doesn't matter. So it's just that you want some faculties in the US who is ready to host you.
Right. So, are there any further questions? Is there age limit? Yeah.
Yeah, Modish. Yeah. Um, I don't know whether there is a age limit because I did not focus. I mean, I didn't saw that. I don't think there will be age limit. Again, you're in PhD, so people can start their PhD at 24 also and 35 also. So I think there won't be a age limit. I'm sure there won't be age limit.
Yeah, I think I started my PhD at 32, so there's there should not be any
Yeah,
age limit.
there will not be age limit. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a few more questions. Okay. So if there are not any more questions, I want to ask you one question just to facilitate the conversation. So besides academic opportunity, how did you find doctoral Fulbright fellowship in terms of like networking or even meeting friends, creating connections across your academic interest field? Because sometimes this fellowship also places us in a situation or circumstances where we extend our network, meet like-minded people, and like we have gone together to Colombia, and that was only possible because you were here on the Fulbright and I was here, like, and we planned something. So yeah, share some of your experiences of beside academic thing, how this fellowship also in a way provides opportunity to network friendly and also in like culturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think that I have been able to uh, devote more time into thing, but I was very much from the start. I was very much into academics, but uh, I have presented work at 2 and 3 places. To at first at Yale University, then at Pennsylvania University. So, what major changes that it will bring, this fellowship will bring to your personality also and to your work also, is that you'll meet people here who are from a very wide range of background. They'll be from different countries. It's not just that they'll be from one particular. and then they will come from different ideas. So when you talk with them about your research, so they'll interested to know about your research, but then they will tell you, okay, so in my country this is what is happening. So there will be a comparative thing that will come up, and that actually helps you to broaden your horizon of thinking and writing also. Where does your work goes, and there will be many things that you would not know. And once you come here, meet students, and you'll make friends, and then you will come to know, okay, so this is also that you can explore for. And then uh, people will share about how did they came to US, and they will ask you, and then it helps in knowing that hardly we get opportunity in India to know people from different countries, what they think about life, the philosophy itself. These all things are very crucial, which we seldom get in our country. So in that sense, it's very important that you come here, and it helps you to know many things about life, about work, about how to navigate, how to how to I'm not very much, I mean, I've not been able to connect with many people, but a few that I have been able to connect have been very important, and have been very made very important mark in terms of letting me know about the vital things.
Great, great. I think we can see one. There's one question: does Fulbright scholarship give to master thesis program?
India Fulbright does have a master program, so you can, of course. So for PhD, it's just an exchange, but for masters, they'll give you a full 2 years fellowship to pursue your masters in the US. So of course, it has. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's one question on, like, someone is asking, Sumed is asking about universities focusing on PhD in data science and public policy. Yeah, I think that's
Sumit,
more
I
specific
can read.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to ask about the universities which are focusing on PhD in data science and public policy or social sciences. I have already did the same. I think, man, almost all universities now offer social sciences, data science for public policy. I'm not very sure, but maybe
Yeah.
Vishal can get him into.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a common friend whose name is Nilesh Shinde. He's on, like, he works. He's connected with data science, and he's also Fulbright doctoral fellow. No, he's a postdoc fellow at University
Postdoc,
of
yeah.
Massachusetts, right? So he might. You can reach out to him. We can send
Yeah.
his email ID to you. If you can just check on University of Amherst Resource Economics Department, you may reach out to him. I will convey the word, pass on the word, and someone called Sumit will reach out. And there is a question by Vidyanand. What about postdoc? Can you elaborate the question?
I think if you want to know whether you can come to postdoc here, of course, Fulbright has a fellowship for postdoc also. So I know people who have come here by doing PhD in India, and they've come for postdoc here, lived here for 1 year. So of course, so it offers. So you can get for MPhil. There is a degree full funding you will get. This is what I mean. This is what I think it's the correct information. And then for PhD, it's an exchange. For Fulbright, you can come here again, and then it's also for teaching faculties and teachers and professionals also. There are various grants within this Fulbright thing. There is not one particular. Yes.
Okay. So there is a question from Pallavi. Social work. I want to know about the scope for social work students abroad, like how we can apply and which university is good. So I think this is a very generic questions. I think Raju was talking about Fulbright, so we can
Yeah.
address this question in, like, there are a couple of lectures on Nalanda YouTube channel only about the questions you have asked, Pallavi. So you can listen some of the lectures. Okay, so that. So if are there any further questions about Fulbright? Okay. Yeah, so if there are not any further questions, I would like to thank Raju for giving us a very brief and detailed, informative session on Fulbright, which is very much necessary for us when we are a doctoral scholar in India. So, yeah, last, I would like to end this session with a question only, which is unconventional. How did you feel when you visited Colombia and took a photo in front of Baba Sahib's statue?
Yeah. So I went. I went to New York specifically to see to go to and see Baba Sahib. So again, it's always a wonderful thing, and it's always a great thing to visit a university or a library where Baba Sahib has studied. I mean, it's because of him that I and Vishal and many of us have been able to make it through, I'll say, college and then university and then higher education campus and then in foreign countries. So had he been not there, I don't know where, people like me or that, and so many of us would have been in their life. So our whole existence and intellectual debt that we owe to him is like huge. It just cannot be measured into. So I specifically I went to New York to because I just wanted to go to Colombia once, and I went there, and it's very the experience is something that it becomes you just cannot. There's a different feeling that you will get once you enter into Colombia, because once from last 10 years or 10 or 12 years, once you came into academics, you will come to know, okay, Baba Sahib has studied from Colombia. And from since that day, the day one, you will think, okay, one day I have to go there where Baba Sahib has studied. And that opportunity, I was able to get it because I came to US, so I thought of not missing it. And then I traveled from California to here, the whole 8 hours journey just to go to Colombia to see the library where I used to sit and study. So it was a great thing.
Yeah, thank you very much, Raju. Now I pass it on to Samek. Should we close it or what?